So I just walked into the gym and I said, you know what, I want to get back into Gleason's, which is where I started going at about 7 years old.
Wow.
I walk in at 18 and I see this kid getting ready to box, and you know, I won't mention the name that he was going to box with, who wasn't, you know, near his prime anymore.
Yeah.
But was a big name at one point. And Paulie just really had his way with him.
Wow.
And I didn't know who Paulie was. And I said, geez, you know, like, who is this kid, you know? And really 6 rounds. And I just literally lost it in amazement, you know? And I walked over to him afterward. He took his headgear off and his equipment off, and I literally just said, "Who are you?" And he started laughing. So I was like, "No, dude, seriously, who the fuck are you?" And he said, "I'm Paulie." I was just like, "Wow." And we started talking, and that, you know, we got into away from, you know, we lived about 10, 15 minutes away, and you know, that led to, oh, you know, you're Sicilian, you know, I'm Sicilian as well. You know, we watched soccer, you know, grew up similar, you know, pretty poor, you know, we didn't have it easy, you know. My mom wasn't divorced as early as his mom was, but you know, my dad wasn't there, and the same kind of deal, you know.
Wow.
So we had a lot in common.
Yeah, of course.
We got really close really fast. And, you know, at that time I really wasn't sure where I was going.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I used to, I would spar with him. I sparred with him a few times, not too often. And he answered my questions for me, the ones that I had left.
Oh, okay,
I could do this for a career. And the answer was absolutely not. You know, so after that, I just it was amazing to be in the ring with someone like him, and you know, I thought I was pretty good, and that I might have had a chance to pursue something, but you know, he shot that down quick, and it was just amazing and he was just, you know, not even going 100%, obviously. He was just teaching me and doing things like that. But then I chose, you know, to just go to the gym with him. And that started to open a door for me that, you know, like, as he started coming up, I would just be in the gym with him every day. And then before you know it, I would wrap his hands, and, you know, I was his guy. And one day in one of his fights, I wrapped his hands, and he got a knockout over a guy named Kevin Watts. Early in his career, I forget which fight it was, maybe his 13th fight up in New Hampshire. And in the back, I took his checkbook, and I started to write out checks for the rest, you know, the cornermen.
Yeah.
He would tell me what to write, you know, for how much this one gets and how much that one gets. And he said, "Write yourself a check for so-and-so." And I started laughing. I said, "Get the hell out of here. Absolutely not." And he said, no, you know, you basically ran my whole camp.
Wow.
With me every day, doing everything. So, you know, I need you to do this for the rest of my career. And, you know, you'll get paid just like everybody else. And I was like, that's ridiculous, you know. But at the same time, I didn't have a job at that point. So I was like, you know, I guess this is my job then, you know. And that's when it kind of was like, okay, you know, on a daily basis now I may have to do other things aside from the gym. So, you know, fast forward to now, you know, I'm like his best friend. I'm like a liaison in a sense. I'm his assistant, you know. If I have to set up travel for him, if I have to, you know, print stuff out and store it away and file it for him and keep it organized, I do that. My fiance helps me with that. And, I'm just overall, I think, we don't sit there and have an office, but I think it works itself out,
Yeah, wow.
in the long run.
What an amazing story. Do you find yourself, in terms of obviously time with your family and then obviously the jobs you're doing for Paulie, do you find yourself sort of hard pushed, or is it, does it all fit in nicely with each other?
Oh, it never fits in nicely, I don't think it's possible to fit in nicely. I mean, I have my regular 9 to 5s where
wow.
I do construction, which
okay.
I'm actually at right now.
Oh, really?
And then I'm at work now. And then when it's time for him to fight, I have to handle tickets. I have to sort out his sparring partners, which I've started to do that now because he's fighting May 29th at the Barclays. So, I've been, as the fight gets closer, I start to do more, and I have more on my plate. And
yeah, of course.
my family understands that. You know what I mean? They're very understanding, and Paulie is top priority. When it comes to that, and everybody's on board with that.
Oh, of course.
Everybody understands that he's his career comes first. He's been able to. I've been able to watch my best friend do a lot of things that I wish I was able to do when I was a kid growing up, and I've been able to travel the world with him and basically live vicariously through him.
Yeah.
And watch him achieve these goals. Become a 2-time world champion right before my very eyes. So I think my family understands that this is not just a job where I get paid. It's also my passion. You know what I mean? So everybody kind of pitches in with me.
Yeah.
They understand that I have a regular job, and then I also go to the gym after work. I go to the gym with him, and I make sure if we fly in sparring partners, after Paulie's done sparring with them, I'll take them to eat. You know what I mean? And whatever it is that we have to do, I'll do. My days will go from 8 in the morning till 10 at night, and that's just the way. If that's the way it has to be, then that's the way it has to be. But I got to do what I got to do to make sure that he's taken care of. And I always told him my job is not to be the trainer.
Yeah.
You have a trainer. You have a chief second, they call it. I'm your assistant trainer, but I'm also the guy that's going to make sure that all you have to worry about is getting yourself ready for the fight mentally and physically. I take care of the nonsense. I make sure that you don't have to deal with bullshit. So the little stupid things, like I said, taking the sparring partners to eat. If there's fights on Saturday, the sparring partners are in from out of town, they can come to my house and watch fights. You know what I mean? And I get them some food and stuff like that,
Yeah, oh wow.
But it's the little things. But stuff like that, and like I said, it works itself out, but it does get hectic when it comes to fight time. But I always can handle it. You always feel like it gets overwhelming at times, but I can handle it.
Oh no, wow. So you've been, in terms of throughout all of Paulie's pro career, you've been with him, obviously, in this corner.
Oh yeah,
wow.
his whole career.
What?
2 world titles, two weight classes.
Amazing. What for you? What would be the best sort of venue atmosphere you've experienced? Would you say?
Well, you know what? It was nice to go over to Manchester when we fought there.
Oh yeah.
That was great because the fans were great, and the city stadium was a great vibe and a great atmosphere. It was unfortunate to fight because he broke his hand and there was a rematch, and he didn't win in the way that we expected to, in dominating fashion, which I tell him still to this day that you're never going to duplicate the first performance that you had against a guy like that. But as far as importance and the fight, I would have to say Ukraine. The reason why I say that is because, like I tell him, when he won his first world title, I expected that. You know what I mean?
Really?
It was expected of him. Absolutely, absolutely. I always told him he was going to be, a 2 or 3-time world champion in 2 weight classes. So when he won his first world title, I said, good job, but, now you're going to defend it a few times and then we're going to win another one, So it's kind of like, good job, kid, but all right, now let's keep going,
Keep going, yeah.
So when he won the second world title and we had to go all the way to Russia and fight someone who, in their homeland, for their title,
he was undefeated.
It was like that's something that you're dealing with the politics of the business on top of everything else.
Of course, yeah. All the odds against you.
Literally, when I got the belt in my hand after that fight, and especially that he let by knockout, that was like, okay, where did this come from? This was like Rocky and Drago, not to sound cliche, but.
Oh wow, that must have been.
But that's right up there with all of them.
Oh, of course, yeah, of course. Obviously the return, May 29. Is that because I know there was rumours obviously after Paulie's last fight about a possible European fight with obviously his Italian roots, but obviously that's sort of out of the window for now. But Paulie's fight against Danny O'Connor, obviously, is it sort of on the path towards, how does Paulie feel? Does he want to sort of just get a few more fights in and then maybe be up there? I know Kell Brook, that was obviously would have been in the works last year before the Porter fight as they were fighting for the title. But is Paulie, is he there, for the desire for the world titles, or is it just getting a few more rounds in and see where it goes, sort of thing?
Yeah, I think Paulie's just going to see where it goes as far as on the competitive level. Paulie's a competitor, so if he, we're taking the Danny fight, and he has 100% confidence that he's going forward with his career.
Yeah.
Now that being said, you're fighting at a professional level. He's not a spring chicken anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not a young kid. This at times can feel like a young man's sport. So he is going to take it and see how he feels.
Of course.
If he feels great, believe me, he's going to take on. He would take on He-Man. That's just the type of person he is. So I think we'll just go with that approach that we're going to, see how he feels.
Take it step, yeah.
I think there's a number of options. There's a lot of options out there for him.
Yeah.
And that's part of the blessing of being with Al Heyman and
of course,
stuff like that's part of it, because you get to see a lot more than the fighter who's not with Al. You're kind of geared or maybe forced down a road, where with Al it's kind of your road may be a little bit wider.
Yeah, of course.
You may have four lanes on your road.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's definitely.
But we didn't just start doing this, so we're not going to just take the first offer that comes our way. I think we're going to explore it and play the pros with the cons now at this point in our career.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Paulie's profile worldwide is obviously huge. He's got a huge fan base here in England. I know this week he's been working with Sky Sports.
Right.
Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, he loves England.
Yeah. But no, obviously he's got a fan base here. Obviously our IBF champion, Kell Brook. What are your thoughts on him as a fighter, Brook? Have you seen much of him, or have you?
Oh, absolutely. I've been watching Kell Brook since he turned pro.
Oh, really? Okay.
Paulie says, I have a feeling my path was going to cross with this guy one day. So, since he said that, I would always watch him.
Oh, right. Okay.
Whatever chance that I would get, And I always thought he was very, very talented. And I think the last year and change,
yeah,
he's just gotten better, and he's brought it really to the next level. I think he's the top, the highest of the tiers in the welterweight division. I think he's really shown himself to be at the best, and he deserves to be there. I think he deserves to get an opportunity to fight the best and to continue to keep proving himself as the best.
Of course,
He's a phenomenal talent. He can bang. He can box. He's got a good size for the welterweight division. He's a full package. I would love to see him versus Amir. I would love to see him versus Thurman. These are really good fights for the fans that I'm sure the Special K is drooling at the mouth, so to speak, to get in there with those guys, And he deserves it. He deserves to continue to make money and stuff like that. But he's got time. You don't have to force it. He's with a phenomenal promoter, Eddie Hearn.
Yeah.
So the fights will happen, the matches will be made, and the fans are going to get a lot to see. I'd like to see him come here, and because a lot of people, you got to be a real big boxing fan to be able to know who Special K is right now.
Yeah,
I do, because my best friend is in that weight class, so I know everybody in the weight class. But a regular fan doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
If he comes here and fights in Vegas, or he fights on Showtime or so on pay-per-view, these guys, these regular people will get to see him.
Yeah. But how would you see him, Brook v. Khan, going? Who would you see winning that one?
I favor Kell Brook slightly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he's a natural welterweight. I know Amir Khan, listen, Paulie fought Amir, so I know everything there is to know about Amir, how frustrating of a style he has, how fast he is, how intelligent he is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Kell Brook is a natural welterweight. This is a guy that's, nobody's pushing him around. That's not happening.
No, definitely not.
Even Porter couldn't do it, so, it's not going to happen, so. Now you're going to rely on skill for skill, and I think he's up there with the top tier welterweights.
Oh man, let's see. Good, yeah. But your obviously profile. I remember, seeing a few clips of you involved in some of the Khan Malignaggi sort of weighing brawl, as well as the sort of the Broner trash talk. Broner as a fighter, because it's a weird one to sort of see with Broner, because obviously, the win over Paulie was quite controversial, but since then he hasn't, he then obviously lost to Maidana, but he's come back. See him as someone that's dedicated to the graft. Obviously his last fight, he came in, was that a pound over? The weight limit.
That's an issue that he's got to work on himself as far as weight.
Yeah.
But as far as his craft, I think with Molina he showed patience.
Yeah.
I think he's a good fighter overall.
Yeah.
And I think when he fought Paulie, he was a young kid, and we were just picking at him because obviously he has a big mouth, but he hadn't really fought anybody, and he was really protected. And even a little bit after, I give him credit for taking my down fight.
Yeah. Definitely.
But he's a talented kid. People compare him to Floyd. That's a little dramatic, but he's definitely got, he's got skills for sure.
No. But your recent, is this the podcast recently? How's that been going? Because obviously I've seen a few things you've put up on social media. The podcast itself, is that you and Malignaggi just sort of
just having fun, joking around, talking sports. Majority boxing, but we throw some other sports in there. We'll talk about soccer, what we call here, you guys call football.
Okay.
We'll talk about other sports and just life in general. Some of our some of our fun past stories, traveling for fights or being out at the town, whatever it may be.
Oh, fantastic. And that's available on, you can get it on iTunes?
On iTunes, yes. Play.it, or available also on iTunes. It's called Paulie Malignaggi, From Brooklyn to the World.
Wow, okay. Smashing. The, no, that's fantastic. And I'm glad, obviously, Paulie, as the sort of, the technician he is, it's good to see him sort of making a comeback. Did you sort of feel after the Porter fight that this isn't obviously the way you wanted him to bow out, and was you sort of ever pushing him for the return, or did you just want it to be solely his choice and just give it time?
Well, he's a big boy, I can't make decisions for him.
No, of course.
We watched our idol Arturo Gatti go out the same way, and a lot of fighters go out that way. But I told him, I said, you have money, you have cars, you have jewelry, you have investments, you have properties. What's your motivation to keep getting punched in the head? And at first he was like, yeah, I'll think about it, whatever. And he enjoyed himself. He enjoyed the summer. He enjoyed, eating and all that stuff. And he had fun hanging out with all the women he has and all that. And then he suddenly just started going for runs and playing soccer a couple of days a week. And before you know it, his weight started coming down and he started getting more motivated. He started going to the gym. And, he would talk to his people and say, listen, set me up. I'm ready to make a return. And here we are, so.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's a big boy. We talked about it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be there regardless, whatever he decides. So. And I know he still has more left. It's just, of course, as a best friend, you never want them to take too much. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah, of course.
That's the concern there. You want them to be able to enjoy their money and not,
Oh yeah, of course.
But other than that, I mean, he's fine. And like I said, we're gonna take the next fight. We'll take it one fight at a time and just enjoy it and one step at a time and take it for what it is. And there's no set in stone date you have to fight until or not fight. It's up to you. He may go in there and say, you know what, I don't feel like training anymore after this fight. You know what I mean? And that's up to him. He's a big boy, like I said. Cool. He may get a title. He may win another title and say, you know what, who am I going to defend it against? I don't know if I want that or this or that, and I don't want to make weight anymore. You know what I mean? And he may just retire as a champion. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's a ton of things. So we'll see.
No, definitely. You're obviously the boxers that are coming up today. Who, in your opinion, who do you see obviously when Floyd and sort of Manny, when they sort of finish with boxing, who do you see coming up as the next pound superstar? Obviously, there's a lot of hype on Triple G at the moment. Kovalev, but who would you say, from what you've seen, sort of gets your eye and it gets your attention?
Well, I mean, we know who the stars are that are going to replace Floyd in the welterweight division. We know that already. We know that Keith Thurman is waiting in line. We know that Kell Brook is waiting in line. So, as far as Triple G, he already has that, So we know that. Can we see maybe an Errol Spence climb the ladder and give a Kell Brook or a Keith Thurman a run for their money? Because we already know where they stand. We know that they can fight. That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, definitely.
Those are the guys that you got to look at. The young guys who haven't really fought anybody yet, but they're supposedly being groomed to be stars. Are they going to pan out the way Kell Brook and Keith Thurman panned out so far?
Of course, of course.
But I also work with a young kid named Junior Yunnan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's 168 pounder,
Right.
and he's 6-0 with 5 knockouts, and he's recently signed with Rock Nation, Jay-Z.
Wow. Okay.
He'll be fighting his first fight with them on June 6th at Barclays on the Miguel Cotto undercard.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Massive.
Miguel Cotto is also signed with Rock Nation, so that's
So
going to be his first card, and that should be a big card.
oh, wow, that's an amazing, obviously, 7th pro fight on the Cotto undercard. That's pretty huge. Wow.
And again, this is a kid that I literally know since he's like in the stroller.
Oh, yeah.
Or else I wouldn't, I don't I don't just go around looking for boxes to work for. I only work for you if I know you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, wow.
I'm not that type to go shopping around looking for fighters. That's not me. I don't have the time in the day.
No. Oh, fantastic. Oh, so because I was gonna ask about other fighters, but so you're sort of working mostly with Paulie, but also this youngster in the works. Junior, sorry, yeah. Oh, wow, okay. So obviously that must. Do obviously the Paulie and Junior sort of, do they work in the same gym, so you can sort of
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
The connection was made. Junior's dad, Sharif, was working was Paulie's coach for a few fights. When we fought Juan Diaz, those
Okay.
2 times, and when we fought Amir, actually. He fought in some amateur bouts when Paulie was an amateur, and they knew each other that way. And that's when Junior was literally an infant.
Wow.
So, Paulie knows them a long time, as do I. And, I watched that kid grow up and become a phenom in the amateurs. And as he was about to turn pro, he asked me to be in his corner as well. So that's just the way it worked out. So, he's young right now, and he's going through these 4-rounders, and he's going to start 6-rounders. So I don't have time to be in the gym with him.
Yeah.
But, I handle some tickets for him and things like that. I handle his music and stuff like that. As he gets older and, more involved, I'll get more involved.
Yeah, of course. Wow. I mean, it's fantastic, obviously, opportunity for both of you, but to have, obviously, someone like yourself in his, working alongside him when you've obviously travelled around the world and won titles with Paulie, that's something I bet he's really grateful for. Oh, fantastic.
Absolutely, sure.
This, obviously this bond, the relationship you have with you and Paulie, and, Paulie himself's been known to be entertaining, obviously, an intellect in the ring, but entertaining outside, with some of the trash talk. And obviously I sort of pointed on a while earlier about how, the Broner and the Khan fight, how you obviously were side by side with each other. Do you think, in the game now, there's not so much, obviously, the trash talk and all that? Do you think it's sort of, you need that in the sport? Because obviously it creates a sort of a more bigger profile for the fighter and makes it sometimes more entertaining when you've got that sort of rivalry and that sort of entertainment on display, which obviously you and Paulie have.
I think there's certain fights that call for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's certain opponents that bring it out of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it's called for. We're fighting a kid named Danny O'Connor who's from Boston, and we know him on a personal level.
Oh,
so,
wow, okay.
I don't think you're gonna hear much trash talking from Paulie.
No.
You bring out a kid like Adrian Broner who comes there thinking he's Floyd Mayweather, and you're gonna get a whole lot of trash talking from us. And we fought Zab Judah. We know Zab for many years. There was no trash talking. Both guys were confident that they were gonna win. They showed up classy and fought 12 rounds, and they shook hands afterward. And that was it. Back to being friends afterward. So yeah, I think the opponent kind of sets the
Brings
stage
it
for that.
out.
Like you see when you're about to fight, oh, I'm fighting this guy. Okay, I got some things to say to him too. And he's gonna kind of come back with his own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, of course.
But
yeah, of course.
you kind of know that approach going into it. You kind of know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even like Amir, there's times where Amir is just confident and is cool, and then there's time where he's like, oh, I'm gonna knock him out. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think as a fighter, you kind of know who you're gonna ruffle feathers with, and who you're just gonna approach it subtly with.
Oh, of course. What would your? I mean, I don't know if you've seen much footage of him or anything, but your take on Tyson Fury, like, because I know he was fined last year for a sort of rant he had earlier at a press conference when he was scheduled to first fight Chisora when that got called off. But sometimes, people are put off by him because sometimes he is, to some people's opinions, too insulting towards fighters. What have you seen much of him, and like, what do you think of that sort of?
I've seen him fight enough.
Yeah.
He talks a lot of trash.
Do you think it's good, or?
My friend Steve Cunningham almost knocked him out in the second round, up a bit. And I think Tyson is also very lucky that David Haye got hurt, because to me, I'm a huge David Haye fan.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I think he can last 3 rounds with David Haye.
No, you don't think so?
Absolutely not. He would get crushed.
I mean,
he doesn't have the talent. He's a big, strong guy. Yeah, sure, but he doesn't have the talent at all.
Do you see Klitschko doing a job on him if they fight, or?
Oh, please don't even mention him two in the same sentence. Jesus Christ.
I mean, he's whether that gets made. Sorry?
That's embarrassing.
So, obviously, Hayes scheduled, whether it gets announced, a possible comeback in the summer. Do you ever look at the heavyweight division? Is it? I mean, I know it's been claimed to have been rather dull over the last few years, but do you see any new life into it with obviously Deontay Wilder on the scene now, or?
Yeah, I see Deontay Wilder, and I want to see somebody. I want to see Tyson try to fight him.
Yeah. Oh, you think?
Do you want his title shot? Yeah, he's a guy. He's a guy just as big as you. Go be a tough guy with him. You like to beat up on cruiserweights? Go fight somebody your own size. He's right there.
But no, it's and obviously, talking obviously sort of that trash on talk and the social media now. What's your take on Shannon Briggs and what he's sort of doing to get a Klitschko fight? Do you see that?
Yeah, I see it everywhere. He had Paulie too at a Nets game, and
oh really?
It's just it's sad. It's sad that he's doing all this to get a payday, and I get it. But it's just it's a shame when fighters go to this length to get a fight. But, honestly, you're not going to win. We know that. We know who you are. I respect Shannon Briggs as a fighter. He used to be actually a very talented fighter when he was young. But you're talking about you're fighting the best heavyweight in the world. One of the best heavyweights. We could talk about it for days, how phenomenal the guy is. Yeah, it's boring to some people, but what are you going to do to change what he's been doing for the last few years? Yeah, you know that. You're just going there for a paycheck. You couldn't beat his brother who wasn't nearly as polished as this guy. Yeah, tougher, more rugged, but this guy's way more polished and way more technically sound. He'll kill Shannon. I don't know, but like I said, people want to try to make a living for themselves. I can't be mad at them for that.
No.
But he doesn't have a leg to stand on as far as deserving the fight.
No, That's a good take. It's interesting to hear your take on Klitschko because, you know, rather unfairly, he gets criticised a lot, even though, like you say, you know, I think he's closing in on Joe Lewis's title reign, isn't he? Defense, I think, and you know, it's obviously under Manny Stewart, he developed this style, and it's worked so well for him. So, you know, do you think it's unfair, the critics he gets about the, you know, the holding and the, you know, being boring? Because obviously it's worked so well every time.
At the end of the day, we're about to watch tomorrow. We're gonna watch one of the best fighters ever put on gloves, in Floyd Mayweather, and people criticize him. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
every
exactly.
fighter's they're gonna get criticized, and you're always up for. When you're under the spotlight, you're always up for criticism. When you're famous and you make millions, you're always up for criticism. So it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
So Vladimir Klitschko is no different than a Paulie Malignaggi or, you know, Amir Khan or Prince Nassim Hamed or any of those guys.
Of course.
They used to criticize Macho Camacho. I mean, you know, it's just part of it. Comes with the territory. It just is what it is. Klitschko doesn't owe anybody anything. He's not going to go in there and fight a different style because the fans scream for it.
Of course.
It's not his problem. You know, he owes his family and himself to go out there and come out of there with his wits and his brains and a check and the title. That's what he owes himself and his family, you know?
Yeah,
and anybody who can't understand that, you know, that you don't have to watch him at the end of the day. Would he appreciate it? Sure, I'm sure he does, but you don't have to watch him.
No, of course. Growing up, like, who were the main boxing heroes for you growing up, like, when you started, you know, to first get involved and watch it on the TV?
As a baby, a little kid, Pernell Whitaker, Vinny Pazienza. Oh, man, Pernell Whitaker, I watched all of his fights.
Wow.
Sugar Ray Leonard, I had to watch tapes, obviously. I wasn't even born when he won, when he won his title. I'm born in '82, so.
Okay.
But yeah, Vinny Pazienza and Boom Boom Mancini, Hector Camacho, Pernell Whitaker, those were the guys when I was little. My dad always loved Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. But yeah, then Mike Tyson, of course.
Yeah.
And then as I got a little bit older, and I started watching for my own, Arturo Gatti was my idol.
Yeah?
And Paulie's as well.
Wow, okay. Oh, fantastic. No, that's...
And I got to meet him and hang out with him a few times. And before he passed, he knew me on a first name basis. And
really?
That's something that I'll never forget. Yeah.
Wow. What was he like, Gay, when you met him?
Oh, it was great. Amazing person.
Yeah.
He loves to party and have fun. You know, they say he fought hard, he lived hard, he partied hard, but he was a good man.
Oh no, fantastic. Oh no. Well, I was going to obviously ask this, but I'll ask you anyway. Fight of the century tomorrow. Floyd and Manny. Obviously, you're going with Floyd.
Oh yeah, sure.
I
don't think it's going to be as competitive, unfortunately, for the fans, because everybody's been waiting for so long.
Yeah.
They're paying $100 for the pay-per-view, and I think Floyd is going to beat him. And
one side.
I think Floyd is going to. Paulie said it best, and I hate to sound just like him because I have my own opinion, but
yeah, of course.
The way Paulie breaks it down is very, very simple. Pacquiao needs to land something in the early stages of the fight to get some respect. If not, Floyd is going to start just getting in the comfort zone. And when he gets in that comfort zone, it's the timing and everything down. You have the least amount of chance to win. That's the issue. If you can at least land something to make him second guess himself, you at least have a chance. So if it doesn't, if the first few rounds go by and he doesn't even sting Floyd, it's over for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then Floyd's going to start walking forward and just start leading with shots, and he changes his arsenal so much. The variation and the punch selection and the feints, all mixed in. It's like a beautiful sauce that your wife makes, and it's just so many different spices in it that when you taste it, you're like, wow, this is amazing. What's in here? It's a feint, it's a straight right, it's a jab to the body, it's a feint. Then he comes to hook. It's everything.
Fantastic.
Full
That's great. Oh no, of course. Do you see it points, or maybe? I mean, some are calling maybe for stoppage by Floyd.
Most likely points, but you never know. If I want to see how Pacquiao fights going backwards, if he's pushed backwards.
Yeah.
A lot of people let him go backwards and they stop. I want to see when Floyd backs him up and Floyd starts really attacking him, how he's going to react.
Of course, yeah, it'll be definitely. What are you doing?
You never know if he can take it.
No, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Are you watching it at home, or are you going to
I'm home. Yeah, I'm going to be home. I'm going to have a party at home. Like I said, I'm going to take a glass, a sip of sangria or champagne for every counter right hand that Floyd wins. So the way I see the fight going, I should be drunk by like the 6th round.
I was going to say, they might have to call an ambulance, No. Oh no, and you don't see any, obviously there seems to be some dislike from Freddie Roach towards, Mayweather. Obviously he had the De La Hoya fight that was, quite close, but you don't see any game plan Roach can have to cause problems.
I saw something online, and I'll tell you one thing. I think Freddie Roach is extremely overrated as a trainer. I always say this. Absolutely. But one thing I give him credit, because I always give credit where credit is due. He's very, very good at watching film.
Yeah.
I think he's brilliant. And I noticed one thing that I think they're working on, where they're punching to Floyd's chest right underneath his chin.
Oh, okay.
With the straight left. And I think that's to try to put him out of position or try to make him pull back. Right. So what they plan to do as a follow-up, they won't show us too much in the public workouts and in the media. So I don't know what they plan to do after that. That's a good start from my opinion.
Yeah. No.
We'll have to see tomorrow night if they can get that off, and then what they plan to do after that, and what Floyd's counter to that is.
Yes, of course.
Because one thing about Floyd is he's a chess player. Manny Pacquiao is a great checkers player. He can beat anybody in checkers, but now he's playing chess with the best. So let's see how intelligent he is.
Man, you should be working for Sky Sports. The analysis you just gave, man, fantastic. But no, thank you, Pete, for your time, though, man. I'll let you get on what you're doing, obviously, if you're still at work. But thanks for the interview, bro.
Thank you, man.
I'll speak soon. Take care, man.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.